Hello. Today I'm going to be talking with an energy healer and life coach, Aiyana, from The Light Thread. We're going to be focusing on how to find the innate wisdom within ourselves by creating the right circumstances and quality of energy so we can hear it and tune into it. So as soon as I see her, I will bring her in. Thank you for joining me. Here we go. Lauren from The Light Thread. I'll be bringing her in. She is a spiritual life coach, energy healer, and wellness retreat leader, and a personal development mentor for almost 20 years. Her focus is in assisting us to connect with our divine wisdom within. Here we Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Carl, how are you?
Hi, so good. How are you today?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I don't usually get to talk about energy healing on my Instagram, so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. And in addition to being a spiritual life coach and energy healer and wellness retreat leader, you also connect with nature in such a deep and profound way to help bring healing to the world. So we're really going to cover a lot of interesting things today. So good to see you.
So good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
So tell me where the energy healing all began. When you were like a child, I know you were a deep empath. Tell me where that path, where you found yourself on the path already.
Absolutely. Well, really, ever since I was young, I've always felt like very in tune with other people's emotions, other people's um, process that they go inside of themselves with their growth, like wanting to be the best that they can be, and sometimes seeing like where challenges are. I feel like when I was young, I was very perceptive of that. And I also felt like very sensitive to nature and to the divine ever since I was young, like kind of hearing a higher voice of guidance or like seeing the positive in people. And so in my own process, I just really felt that that was like a calling that I had to be able to hold space and like facilitate that for others. So that's
Mhm.
how my journey started.
That's beautiful. And was there an episode, a story that triggered that intense connection with sort of a source, a higher power?
Yeah, so I lived in Southampton in the North Sea area, and we had like a good plot of land. We had a very like big yard when I was a kid. I used to run around. We had some farm animals, and I used to play outside like all the time. And during that time, I was really a nature baby. I would, race like wood chips down like the river, and stuff like that. And um, it wasn't so much of a technology heavy era, thankfully, when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Good.
And yeah, and during my home life, there was, times that like my parents were kind of going through their process, like some families do, and they would have a little bit of arguments sometimes. And I remember because I felt like nature was my safe haven, I would like go outside and kind of like regulate myself and not be inside. And this one time I remember there was a little bit of like squabble going on in my home, and I went outside and I looked up at the sun, and I had this very overwhelming feeling of like grace and a feeling of love and peace. And I felt like it was one of the very first moments that I knew that God or divine or a heavenly source was real. And it was really before I was old enough for anyone to teach me about that.
Hmm.
And so I remember that I went inside and I said to my parents, I was like, God doesn't want there to be like any arguments right now. Like we should all be, in a more loving space with each other. And it was really things like that just happened often. I remember like one time I was in a bus with my mom. We were going somewhere, I think to New York City. And I remember having this feeling that was very overwhelming. I was like 9 years old, and I felt like I could hear everyone's thoughts in the bus. And in particular, there was a couple people that I really felt like I could hear their story. And, I shared that with my mom, and she was kind of like guiding me through that. So, a lot of like my empathic nature or energy sensitivity or draw towards healing work started because of just experiences that kept happening as a child.
And you also had a bit of a clairvoyance, in addition to being a mind reader. Tell me about that experience when you saved another child.
Yeah, so basically, like the way that I see it is that I feel like I was just like in touch with my own soul at a young age. I don't necessarily know why it was strong for me, but I felt it was very strong for me. And I did have like, an experience once. I was at a friend's house and there was a lot of kids. We were all like, running around playing with each other. And in the middle of that like playtime, one of the younger children roamed out of the house and went missing. And I think some time went by before anyone noticed. And then at some point, it was noticed that the child wasn't there, and so the adults were really worried and kind of scurrying around looking for it. And we decided to go into this car, and we were driving around the neighborhood, like hoping that we could find the child. And this is in Southampton Village, so I mean, it's not like New York City, but I remember when we were driving, I had this like really strong sense inside of myself of like where the child was. And it was like in this one house where there was this car that was parked like and never really went out. I think it was one of these old timey classic cars. And I had this like vision that I saw like this kind of golden looking grasses, and then that the child was behind the car. And so I just shared that with the adults, and I was like, I feel like this is where, he might be. Let's go look. And so we went there, and sure enough, like that's exactly where the child was. And for me, I never have like really labeled myself as like like a seer, a clairvoyant, an empath, a telepath. Like I don't really use those labels, and the reason
Medium.
I don't use those labels because I can't say that it's like 100% 24/7. And I always want to be like fully reliable for anyone that I'm working with. But it's more like, and I don't want to make mistakes with those things. So it's more that like when I feel like my soul is telling me something confidently, or when I feel like the divine is telling me something confidently, then that's when I share it.
That's beautiful. So you were a deep empath as a child, and then pursued energy healing training, as well as spending a lot of time with shaman to learn about our connection to the planet and to the earth. So beautiful that you do these nature prayers. Let's talk first about energy healing. Tell me what it is, and how do you work with people one on one?
Yeah. So basically, like From a young age, I sensed a lot of things. And in the beginning, I felt like I sensed emotions. I felt people's processes. I felt what people were going through. And later on in my life, I started to understand that there was a bit more to it. It wasn't only emotions, it was also energy. It was also the deep layer of a person, like their spirit or their connectedness to, um, each other or to the earth. And I did learn that by studying with some elders. My training, is like very kind of pure and focused. Like we never did any kind of plant medicine things, but it was like a deep training and focus in my spirit and learning how to connect with the earth. And so I started that training when I was about 18. And from there, combined with some of my studies in traditional energy healing courses in schools, I learned that energy is really like life force and that it is the subtle structure of who we are that has sensibility and that has like it's infused with the deepest part of who we are. And so energy healing, really, it's like, it's very simple for me. I know there's a lot of definitions out there, but for me, energy healing is about tuning in with the depth of good nature inside of me and tuning in with the depth of good nature inside of someone else and intending to powerfully and in a very clean, simple way, have that reflection and mirroring of love and care to assist someone to find a harmony and balance within their own life or within their own connectedness. So that's really how I describe that.
You're like an ancient Taoist. So, traditional Chinese medicine and philosophy, the concept of qi is vital energy, right? And it goes back thousands of years. And the Taoist masters would observe this flow of qi and its workings within like the human body and the world. And that's a beautiful thing. That essentially that's what you're doing in a Western context, right? By studying the land and our place on it and how we can live in harmony, how best we can live in harmony. So talk about like what is a session like when you work with someone and how are you able to uh, create that flow for them with their energy and move out trauma and negative energy and sort of the clogging that takes place when something traumatic happens in a stressful level.
Yeah, absolutely. So touching upon like the ancientness of energy, every origin, every original culture in the world all has an understanding of it, whether it is Native American, South American, in India, Celtic, African, really every place and every spiritual belief, every religious belief, all incorporates something that has to do with the spirit, something that has to do with the soul, something that has to do with energy. And energy is really life force. It's like the thin subtle energy or this thin subtle layer that's between us as people and something higher. And so working with energy and working to help people heal their trauma or release negativity or overcome affliction, it's really about helping to link and plug people back in with that source of consciousness, with the divine. And energy work is really like working with what is in the middle of that. So if we as human beings are also connected to a divine source, what's in between those two things is the subtle essence of spirit and the subtle workings of energy. Energy is so interconnected with the spirit. And so the way that I work with people in energy healing is first, I deeply dialogue and I sense and I feel into a person. I listen to what they say. I hear, what they express to me in their situation or in their challenges. And then I feel a sense of care and a sense of love towards that like highest self that they are. And it's really about intention. So it's intention to support the highest light that they are. And it's about soothing the nervous system, flushing the stress through intention, through like a prayerfulness, a meditativeness. I've learned things like kind of like how to work with Tai Chi in your hands. So there's a lot of science behind like activating energy centers in your body or working with your chakra system. So I really enhance the focus within my heart chakra, and my heart chakra connects with somebody else's heart. And it's just about with love and care, assisting that to clear out. And so I use my hands kind of like in a Tai Chi manner to work with that. And because I have like a very devoted and deeply studied background, like my understanding of the layers of a human being is deep. So I connect with all of that. And then I always also connect with the higher divine and I connect with nature. And so it's like a prayerful space that you're holding with a person, that it's not only just like moving your hands around, but it's like you're so like focused and focalized and caring and present and intentional. And what's easy to understand about energy healing is like any one of us human beings, if we've been through something in our life that we really want to heal from it, we really want to get through it, and we have that moment where we're so connected to our heart, a lot of times we feel that shift starts to happen. And when you have somebody else that's very well versed and well practiced in holding that space, then you have two people that are coming together very powerfully and very focused, holding an intention that you can heal. And in short, it's like beautiful things happen. Beautiful things happen when you come together in that kind of intent and that kind of spirit. And then there's different techniques, that you can do that enhance it in different ways.
Like, what sort of techniques do you work with? I know you mentioned the chakras and different aspects of
Yeah. So I
your
work
energy.
Yeah, so I work with sage and smudge. Like I do that sometimes with people. Like it's a very ancient practice that many indigenous cultures have used. And when you're prayerful about it, it is very powerful. And so I work with that to help people clear their energy fields. I do kind of like that Tai Chi hand movement to help intentionally clear like pent up emotions, stress, negativity, trauma. I hold my hands above people's bodies, like connecting with the chakra system and assisting to infuse light into different parts of the body that might heal, might hold wounds and might need healing. And then I also work with people at the ocean, which is super powerful. And a lot of the times, just being at the ocean in that kind of sacred container where two people are holding the intent for healing, it also just feels very rejuvenative and very cleansing. And I also do a lot of educational pieces, like in my life coaching style. When I teach people meditation, I'm very much about experiential learning. So
Mhm.
I'll also go through a process where I coach or I meditate with people, and I watch the energy. I see how they're receiving it, and I teach them how to enhance that a bit.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you draw from nature, and you're doing like a twofold experience, whether it's like spiritual growth, which is essentially inner development. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you have never had like any alcohol, and you've been sober your entire life, and you've also been on this path your entire life, which is really rare to see someone figure out what they need to do, their purpose is at such a young age. Um, do you see alcohol as like something that can dampen or temper our vibration as individuals? Explain to me like how that works and why did you choose that path?
Yeah, so just to clarify, when I was a teenager, I definitely had some alcohol and some party, but it was really short-lived. It was like a year or two of being a wild child.
Mhm.
And because I had a lot of this like spiritual sensitivity growing up, like I really felt nature talking to me, I felt God talking to me. It didn't really take me that long to figure out that that wasn't serving me, like being a party kid. And so really like in my early 20s, well, let's see, I've been sober
Did
about
you just feel so disconnected from like this beautiful internal voice that you had?
for me, but it was
Yeah.
also because I had a couple years of like not being conscious with it. And
Yeah.
soon after that, I met my spiritual teacher and a couple of the other like spiritual healers and teachers around the world. And it happened to be that the teachers I synced up with didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do plant medicine. They just worked kind of like purely in the spirit. And so for me, I was touched so profoundly deeply by that. Like even some of the great yoga teachers that I met, and none of them really did any of those things. And so for me, it wasn't necessarily like this or that is bad. It was just like I'm being guided in kind of a simpler form. And I really like that idea of like knowing myself directly and like when things are challenging, like learning how to get through it directly with myself versus like other outside things.
Hmm.
And it just stuck with me. Um,
I like that.
substances, alcohol can be harmful.
Yeah.
And I know that some people also do it in moderation and, you know, recreationally, and it's okay. But I know, as in a lot of things, it can contribute to being foggy.
So it definitely dims the light, so to speak. So your light was shining very bright, and you did some training with elders in South America that was very intensive to develop spiritual skills, a spiritual light, a perception. You were honing your perception. And what were some of the tests that they would do to test your sort of accuracy and connection to Mother Earth and what she needs?
Sure. Yes, so basically, when I was like about 18, I feel like I left school. I was finding out what I wanted to do next. I entered into the North Carolina School of Natural Healing in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I did a 1,500 hour course there of like studying holistic health, Ayurveda, energy work, life coaching. And within that, some of the students there, they told me that they traveled to South America sometimes to study with elders there. And I met a spiritual teacher. His name's Mama Nui Juan, and he is associated with some of the Kogi mamas. And in particular, there's a very, very special elder. His name was Mama Jacinto. He's like 90 years old, and just a force, such an incredible, amazing human being. And he was known as like a very revered wisdom holder. And some of these elders, they're the type of people that when you look in their eyes, you feel like you see like the stars and the lakes and the mountains, and there's just a deep
Mm,
peace
that's beautiful.
and wisdom. And so I felt the energy quality right away when I met them. And I got to just sit around for some teachings and some learning. And I went back and forth like in the United States and in South America for some years. And then gradually they noticed that like I was applying a lot of their wisdom and like, growing inside of myself. And so they felt that I was like um, a good candidate to like be trained deeper and like really learn more of their wisdom about being like a caretaker and
A steward of the land.
yeah, like a steward of the land, exactly. And so I got to participate in a lot of ceremonies and spiritual work where they did like healing for the land, and I observed a lot of those things. And then they, basically would test me energetically and spiritually to see like if I was coming along and growing or developing to a deeper level. So they would, watch how I interacted with certain clients, if I was reading their case accurately or really seeing like, the healing prescribed path for them was helpful. They would
Oh,
take
so they
me
really mentored you.
very
And
extensively.
was this in Colombia?
Yes, this was in Colombia.
Someone was just asking.
Oh, yes, Colombia.
Amazing. So how did that training? So you mentored with them. You worked with clients in front of them, so they could see that you were directing these individuals on the right path to healing. Uh, this training was really focused on kind of knowing your own soul. Is that right? And understanding that you had to care for that soul in order to be able to help others.
Exactly. That was like the base core of all their teachings. And like I said, like I never did ayahuasca, I never did any kind of plant medicine, and I'm not opposed to those things. I've just personally never done them. My training was all about how deep I know my soul and
Mhm.
how deep I can see other people's souls and how deep I can hear what is said on that level.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like that I brought my clients to them. I mean, I have a few times, but it was more that they are very developed and they would tune in to the energy of my life and the energy of what I was doing with people. And they would intuitively sense if I was on the right track or not. And a lot of the times, like they would screen me and screen my progress. Equivalently, we would go to sacred sites like certain lakes or certain mountains, and they would tell me, like, tune in what you perceive here. What is the Mother Earth saying here? Or what is the history of this place? Or, what is this place asking for as far as love and care? And so a few times we would go and I would say, this is what I feel like the land is saying, or this is what I feel the land is asking for. And then they would like deeply divinize and they would say like, yes, you're accurate, or they would say you're missing this or this. And we also, have had practices like where we do like personal work.
Mhm.
So let's say I was healing something from my life, and they would say like, what chakra is that connected to in your own energy body? And I would have to deeply sense and feel, this is connected to my throat chakra, this is connected to my heart chakra. And they would say like, yes, you're perceiving that, or like, no, you're off. And then they would give me teachings and assistance on how to really be accurate. So
Amazing. And can you see that in others when you're working with people's energies to which chakras are stuck?
many times, many times. And like I said, I don't claim to be like a full-blown psychic medium, clairvoyant, clairaudient, because truth be
Well, you
told, like,
definitely have spirit interaction, which is,
yes.
just guidance. We all have spirit guides. It's a matter of tuning into them, right?
Yeah.
Listening for them, the angels among us. So there's a lot in this wellness space that I cover in Purist, right? So I take a deep dive on all subjects. Uh, Many of them are rooted in nature, whether it's the plant-based medicines you talked about, or the grounding methods of connecting with the earth, walking on the grass, or tree hugging, or there's just a lot of different things that are discussed, and most of them are rooted in ancient um, traditions. What are the things that you have found to be most proficient, most helpful on your journey, and then when you're assisting someone else's journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I said, like my training has kind of been like uniquely guided and kind of like I guess specifically with certain ways, but I'm certainly not like opposed to anyone else's practice or anyone else's traditions. I know that different things work for different people.
Mm-hmm.
That just happened to be my path, like, and that just happened to be what presented itself to me. And so the way that I'm sorry, I forgot what you said.
Some of the trends, the more, I hate to use that word, but the more prescient aspects of wellness rooted in nature that I've covered in Purist, like grounding, and this idea of foresting, tree hugging, plant medicines. There are lots of different paths that people take to try to get that soul care. My question was, what have you found useful in your practice?
So, what I've really found useful in my own practice is, I would say, intentional reflection, journaling, um, prayerful meditation, intention. And it's really like if your energy and your intention and your heart is in the right place, then other things become an extension of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very big nature girl, so I definitely love to spend a lot of time in nature, like reflecting. And I would say yoga is very powerful. I really love to do yoga. And then really like things that are deep and exciting in wellness. Like I love different kinds of holistic therapies, sound healing, heart to heart conversations with people that you care about, and just having like a reflection of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things that
Well, you're deeply rooted in the necessity to harmonize with nature, and that has been much of your studying and sharing. You are involved in land preservation with Native communities, even out here in Southampton, Long Island, where you are located. You're also surrounded by water. I notice a lot of mediums are in Long Island because there's so much water, and water apparently is a conduit or a conductor of spiritual energy. So tell me about that. I know you mentioned to me, you spend a lot of time at the ocean. Do you bring your clients there? Do you do meditations there? Like, how does nature factor in?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the last 15 years, I've done different kinds of support with land preservation projects. I did do some supportive work in Southampton and in New York State, and also worldwide with different indigenous communities. And I observed a lot, from different tribes and how they relate to the earth. And when something is going on in the world, the first thing they do is they go to nature and they pray. And that's also how Mama Nui Shwan is, and how the Kogi Mamas are. So I feel like because I saw that being done so much, and it's like I've seen so many times, like an elder walk to a lake and just get quiet and focus in themselves. And all of a sudden, the birds start singing and the sun is shining brighter and a big gust of wind comes by. And it's something that can't be ignored, that there's a sensibility between our hearts and nature that are connected. And what really is so beautiful is that nature has a living spirit, a quality of love. For me, it's like Mother Earth and also the Heavenly Creator. And so that interconnectedness between heart and spirit and sensibility and intention. And so nature is a powerful place to pray or do spiritual work because nature has a spirit and we are a spirit. So it's a place to be plugged in. And
Oh, I like that. Just got
yeah.
chills.
And I definitely feel like water is incredibly clarifying, powerful. Just like when we want to get clear on our bodies, we take a shower. If we want to get clear in our thoughts, we can also go to the water. It has a very purifying energetic. And being a woman, I feel like water is also a very feminine energy. So I definitely spend a lot of time in places that have water with my clients or by myself because I feel like it's a place that I can just always get clarity and plug in.
It's really quite simple, isn't it?
It is very simple.
So you are a very deep practitioner, advanced in the way of training. You've had such extensive training, uh, thousands of hours spent with elders in nature, understanding uh, how to get on that path to soul care, right? You want to expand on the simplicity of it, if you can do that for me. Why
Yeah.
is it so effective?
Well, I find a lot like in the pursuit of spiritual understanding, sometimes, we can try so many different, tools, so many different avenues.
Mm-hmm.
It can feel like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, like what modality is right for me. And somebody told me something, well, actually, it was one of the elders. They told me something that I found very, very beautiful. And I always reference this. And they said, like when somebody asks, what is my spirit or what is my soul and how do I connect to it? They said that it's basically like you're riding a horse and at the same time you're looking for one, and it's like you are what you're looking for and you always will be. And spirit is, that's how you understand yourself as spirit, and spirituality is anything that is extended from your spirit. And so the way that I teach people, it's not necessarily like this tool is for you, this method is for you, this practice is for you. Mine is more foundational, where it's what are you bringing into that tool? What are you bringing into that modality? Who are you? And
Mm.
that is like my way of being simple with people, is that it's less about the how to and it's more about the who are you.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
So beautiful. Now, when you work with people, do you work with all different levels of trauma? And how long does that usually take to get, some of that trauma and stress and negative energy, you know, pumping out of one's energetic field?
Yeah, so
Because it
I
sits in our cells, so.
absolutely. So really, really like one session will give somebody a boost, and a few sessions will give somebody even more of a boost.
Mm.
And 1 month to 3 months of like doing a deeper program will give somebody a great foundation for support. And depending on each case and each situation and the degree of intensity or blockage that they feel, sometimes a year or two can be like very powerful to get somebody through that.
Mm.
And it really, like, each person has such an individual background in the ways that different traumas can sit in us. And
Mhm.
so in the beginning, it's all about empowerment and intention. And then the next phase is like clarity and insight. And after that, it's basically about like raising your vibration to be brighter than whatever trauma suppressed you. And in raising your own vibration and brightening your own energy, your energy naturally starts to problem solve, and you find yourself naturally releasing and letting things go. And it's just about holding that quality of energy. Some people respond very well to a few sessions and then they just go for it. And some people
Right.
need consistent support. So it's very individual.
Do you find it aligns with like therapy, psychotherapy? Because that someone asked a question, is this somatic therapy, which is like a form of psychotherapy that explores that connection between the mind and the body to address trauma and stress and other emotional or physical challenges. Do you find that it is aligned with something like that?
Yes. So the way that I feel about traditional therapies is that it has a lot to do with the therapist. If there's a therapist that is trained in psychology and traditional forms of therapy and counseling, and they're heartfelt and they're connected to their sensibility, and they are not too much just in their mind, but they do understand like the soulful quality of a human being,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel that therapy has a profound space and that it can really help people. And in certain situations, I've worked in tandem with therapists and psychologists. And as far as like somatic healing and how that relates to the body, the chakra system, the organs, it all very much relates to events, emotions, references to experiences that we have. And so I would say that really, really like my heart appreciates so many different modalities and how they can come together or be independent. And really, really different things tend to resonate with different people. And I would say like it's just a unique process for each person to find what resonates for them. And I really any practitioner from any degree, like if they have a good heart and they have a good soul, like I will work with those people to help other people. So it's less of a modality based in a way, and it's just more about like creating a good team or a support system for someone.
That's beautiful. So you also help people center into themselves and find that divine guidance, right?
Mhm.
What if someone comes to you and they're just like, I don't believe in any of this spirituality stuff? Like, do you find that to be a really big obstacle? I mean, when the innate system is rejecting the healing path that you are on.
To be honest, so many people come to me totally feeling out of touch.
Mm,
And I do get people that they feel in touch, they feel like they have a strong faith or they have a strong relationship with God. But a good amount of people come to me and they're just like, like, I don't know what any of this is and I don't know what's real. And so that's also what I mean by simplified is like if people understand the fundamental uh like topic of good nature, good attitude, good mindset, feeling at peace, feeling connected, they are connecting to their soul, whether their mind understands it or not, because all of
mm,
those good, peaceful, beautiful qualities of ourselves stem and originate from that. And so there is a way to tune people in with their positive energy without it having to be a belief, because
mm,
everyone understands healing, resolve, balance, clarity, peace. And so for people that they don't necessarily know where they stand with those things. You just start in a simpler dialogue about it, and eventually they absolutely will feel their spirit. Nobody that I've worked with, like for months or years, feels confused about that, but sometimes you can in the beginning.
yeah, that's so true. I mean, what you do is secular. It's not specifically religious or sectarian in nature. You are working with it's like a spiritual essence that we are all born with, right? Which has nothing to do with the God that people pray to, because it's what's within it's in our inner landscape. You're like a gardener. of
Yeah.
that inner landscape. How do you work with people on a creative level? I know we talked about, right brain, left brain. Uh, how do you get people to, you mentioned journaling is one thing that you do. What else do you think is effective in getting people to reconnect with their intuition, their spatial reasoning, creativity?
Yeah, well, it's like I have a good amount of clients that they're either like in fashion or in the entertainment world, or they have jobs that they have to like be in charge of projects, and that requires creative energy. And for me, it's like the way that you can unleash your creativity is like go beyond superficial association with that and to like feel a sense of purpose. If you
Mm.
can tune in that I can be a light in this, industry, or I can be a light in this part of my life, and what are the ways that I can bring that light forward? To me, that's like the beginning of creativity.
Hmm.
And then there's ways that you can enhance and emphasize that, whether it's cooking or art or dance or movement or being in nature, running, biking, writing, making, like a photography. So there's many modalities that can be excellent for creativity. And as in all things, like I like to go to the foundation of it, which is seeing your sense of purpose and how you can infuse something beautiful into what you're doing and give it meaning. And a lot of times when we feel like there's meaning in something, that's where our creative energy really springs.
Yeah, and if someone's coming to you, they probably need to spend more time on the right side of the brain, to tap into that intuition, that creativity, that, the feelings, to be able to just share them and discuss them, the imagination, it's the foundation of being able to express all the things that we learn, the analysis, the left side, sequencing, all of that. Well, that's great. We can learn a lot. Go spend a lot of time at school. I feel like I'm always learning something. I'm always on a path. I went back and got my nutrition certification. Now I'm getting my mindful meditation teacher training certification.
Yeah.
Why am I doing all that? Like, why do I need to know the sequencing and the language, the mathematics, the logic behind all of these things, which are ultimately about, you know, tuning in, tuning in more to my nature, right? My innate nature.
Well,
That's so.
I personally feel like part of the reason why you're called to all this kind of work is because I think it's also your good-heartedness. And I think that
Mm,
you do have like a good, beautiful soul. And I think that there's certain modalities that we can express ourselves in. And so I think it's actually awesome that you're doing all those things. And that's a way that you can bring your light forward.
oh, thank you. And I spotted your light right away at a meditation.
Thank you.
Something
Yes.
drew me right over to you. It was really fascinating. And I thought, wow, I'm really tuning into my intuition. This is amazing. Like I need to know who this girl is and what she does. And I felt like your energy, like it was beautiful, vibrating in the room. Uh, and the fact that you, from a very early age, you know, worked with that empathy that you have, and you've been on this path helping people ever since is really beautiful. So you formed the Light Thread. Tell me a little bit about that business and the retreats that you do as well, and how does someone get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So the Light Thread is the name of my personal practice, and I also do events, and I also do public speaking or sharing, kind of guiding people through their processes, and either in group or individual settings. And then I collaborate with different practitioners, sometimes like in women's circles, which are like maybe 2 hours long. And then also in retreats, which are either a full day or the longest we've done so far is 3 full days. And those are like a concentrated deep dive time to just really be with yourself and have different modalities and different exercises, a group container that holds that, and you're around a bunch of other people that are like actively in their own intention. A lot of the times we like to do that in very beautiful settings in nature so that it's easy to connect.
So you
And
traveled destinations, right?
yes, I do. I do this work worldwide, but mostly in the Hamptons and in Switzerland, France, and Italy.
That's great.
Um,
Someone was asking if you do sweat lodges.
I have done sweat lodges many times, like with elders, but I don't facilitate them personally, although that is a beautiful practice. And my name again is Lauren Aiyana, and my website is thelightthread.com. My Instagram is thelightthread, and on one of those platforms, you'll find my email address and my telephone number.
Yeah. So can people reach out to you, send you a DM, ask you some questions about, whether you guys can make a connection together? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah,
That's so
absolutely.
nice.
Yes, of
I think
course.
that I think that everyone's bio individual, so uh, you will take them in different directions, but ultimately the path is the same to path towards soul care, right? As Ram Dass said, we're just here to walk each other home. So I
Yes,
think you
absolutely.
are a very good hand holder.
Thank you. I certainly love to walk side by side with people going home. So that is my great love in life.
Beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing your story with my Purist tribe. I think that, all the healing that you're doing is resonating and vibrating out there. And I'm just so glad I got to share you with everyone today. And your process, it's a beautiful process and the journey you've been on yourself. Really amazing.
Thank you. And thank you for all the support and love that you've given to me. Thank you for putting me in the Purist and for giving me this platform. And you are light in this world, and I really see you and honor you too.
And if you want to read about Lauren, she is featured in the Purist online.com, which is my magazine, but that's the website, puristonline.com. And just type in the light thread or Lauren Aiyana, and the story will come up that she shared with us. It's really, really beautiful. And thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing your light with all
Thank
of
you.
us today.
Thank you so
Love
much.
and light.
Love and light. And yeah, somebody just asked, where am I right now? I'm in the Hamptons. So,
You're in Southampton, right?
yeah.
Beautiful. And you do things remotely? Like, can you do sessions on Zoom?
Yep, I do a lot of sessions on Zoom, and then I also like some people have me travel to see them, and then I have my travel schedule and can see different people worldwide too.
Hmm.
Yes.
You have a lot of fans here already. Yes,
Um,
she is truly amazing.
Thank you to all of you that are watching, and thank you for being so sweet. I love you all, and please feel very welcome to connect with me. I'm so happy to connect with all of you.
So learning about our innate wisdom is not easy, and creating the tools, finding the tools in which to do that, the right circumstances and the quality of energy is really important. Figuring out how to tune in to oneself is the path that all of us wellness seekers are on, and Lauren is one of those facilitators to help you get on your path. So reach out to her if you have any questions, and thank you so much. Oh, last question, and it's a good one. I have to ask it. Do you do past life regression therapy?
Yes, so I don't do what's typically called past life regression therapy, but what I do is that a lot of the times when I'm working with somebody and I'm assisting them in their healing journey, there are times that like a soulful insight can come forward.
Mm.
Sometimes nature might reflect that somebody has a certain past life or a certain pattern. And sometimes my own soul will see it, their own soul will see it. And it's a co creative process of us looking at that together. As in all things, I like to keep it simple, but it's kind of like if you get the basis of understanding of what a past life pattern might be, then in this life you can hold the intent to move through that and harmonize that. So I do that kind of work.
Beautiful. I just read a great book called This Journey of the Soul by Dr. Michael Noon. He's a psychotherapist who, the book is about the spirit world and the world in between these lives that we reincarnate in, and what goes on in the spirit world. What happens to our soul? How do we evolve? It's so good. It's just wonderful. And it's really important to spend some time learning about these things and oneself. It really can, it's just an opportunity for self reflection. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want to become familiar with ourselves, right?
I personally very much resonate with that independently. There's also another excellent book by someone named Edgar Casey. It's called The Story of the Soul. It's very similar.
You
He
might have to.
was he was a medical intuitive, and he helped many people with physical detox and healing, but also through spiritual readings. And I feel like a lot of my sensitivity in my childhood came from positive achievements in past lives. And I also see that some of my struggles or challenges in this life also come from unresolved past lives. So we can have very beautiful past lives and we can have unresolved issues too. And so feeling sensitive to that and tuning in with that, I think is also very, very good. Oh, Antonia is here. And yes, Edgar Casey is amazing. A very, very revolutionary, powerful person.
Well, thank you for that recommendation.
Yes.
I love it. And I just love spending time with you. Thank you so much. I could go on and on for hours, but I will post this on my static post so everyone can watch it, rewatch it, share it, please. It's really wonderful and holistic way of dealing with trauma, or if you're stuck in life and you need to get past that rut that you're in. This is a wonderful way in which to do that. And Lauren, you are just a beautiful soul, and I appreciate you sharing your light with everyone today. So thank you.
Thank you too. And you're also a beautiful soul. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're
Have a
welcome.
lovely afternoon, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.